I don't know how to make an intro, but I'm Vic. Nice to meet you guys. Welcome to my channel, VicForAChange. You know what I can't stand? Door-to-door salesmen. When I was a kid, I thought they were the coolest thing ever, and that is only because I knew about them from watching Looney Tunes. So, to me, door-to-door salesmen were people who came by to sell you anvils. Yeah, that was about all I knew about them. But as an adult, I find them extremely annoying. I mean, technically, door-to-door salesmen don't really exist anymore, but every once in a blue moon, they'll appear out of thin air, spawn on your doorstep, just waiting for the most inconvenient time to... Hello, we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Okay, let me give you some background info here. I nanny for a living, and at the time, I was nannying this 3-year-old little boy. Let's call him Steven. Every morning, Steven would get dropped off at my house. Well, technically my parents' house, because I live with my parents, which will be important for later in the story. Anyway, Steven and I were hanging out when we hear a knock at the door. I'm like, okay. So I open the door, and there's like this 20-something-year-old guy standing there. Hello, I'm Jared from Name Brand Window Company. I see that you could use some new windows. Meanwhile, little Steven looks up and just hugs the man and goes, Hi! Whoa, no stranger danger here, huh? Yeah, So I was noticing that your house is old, and just like that, Steven bolted out the door and started running down the street. And of course, he wasn't going to stop anytime soon, so me, being the good babysitter that I am, ran straight after him. And instead of taking this as his cue to leave, the window guy followed me down the street. So I was noticing... The windows at the side of your house are, Steven, do not cross that street. The windows are fogged up by the mildew, and that's
Steven, are you even listening to me?
I finally caught up to Steven and picked him up and took him back home, and the window guy proceeded to follow and talk. I see you have a very enthusiastic kid there. Hey, little buddy, do you want some new windows? This isn't actually my kid. Whoa, not your kid. Did you kidnap him? I'm babysitting. And now is really not the best time to try and sell me some windows. Oh, yeah, the windows. Anyway, I was noticing your windows, and I thought you could use some insert name brand windows here. Look, man, this is not a good time at all. This guy could not take a hint. It wasn't even a hint at this point. I straight up told him, hey, dude, not now. So you know that fogginess in your upper left window? Side note, there are only 2 ways you can see that window. One is if you go into the neighbor's house and go on their patio. And 2 is if you go on this little side pathway in between my house and the neighbor's house. It's pretty small, and it's kind of private property, so no one goes on there. So clearly, he was going around looking very closely at all these windows, and that's kind of creepy. But back to the story. Yeah, so that buildup only happens when, like I said, this is a really bad time. Also, this house isn't even mine. Oh, okay, so you're renting. Well, that's okay. We can still provide windows. No, I'm not renting. Wait, did you break into this house? Yep. I broke into a house and I kidnapped a 3-year-old child. That's the kind of person I am. It's my parents' house, you moron. Okay, I didn't call him a moron, but I definitely thought it. So, should I come back later then? No, please don't ever come back here again. We don't want or need your stinking windows, man. Take a hint. Is what I wanted to say, but instead I just said, what do you think? And that was the last I ever heard from him. That was definitely the worst experience I've had with door-to-door salesmen. However, I do get annoyed by all the door-to-door political campaign people. Like, if you knock on my door to tell me who's running for state representative or mayor or whatever else, there is a 98% chance that you stopping by has just lowered their vote by one person, because now I don't see this candidate as a good face for the community. Instead, I see them as the guy who sent people over to my house to inconvenience me on a Saturday afternoon. They come to your door as if you're going to be like, wow, this guy cares so much about me that he sent people to my house just to give me a free pen. He's the kind of guy I want running the town. No, if anything, I'm going to take that pen and put it with all my other pens and forget about it until like way after election season when it's way too late to vote for him anyway. Then there's the people who knock on your door to invite you to church. I already go to church, so their pitch is pointless. Let me just be clear here for a second. I am not trying to bash on anyone else's religion or theology. If you have a different one, that's not my decision to make. I just get tired of people knocking on my door to invite me to church, and when I say I already go to a church, get told, oh, but your church is not a good church. That's not gonna make me suddenly want to go to your church. But whatever you believe, I think we all can agree on one thing, and that is that the most obnoxious door-to-door salesman is the Girl Scouts. As I mentioned before, I nanny and I babysit for a living. So I'm basically the prime target for school or sports fundraisers. So by the time cookie season comes along, I don't have money to give to the Girl Scouts, but I also feel bad saying no to a kid, because kids take everything so personally. So if I reject that Girl Scout and don't buy the cookies, they could feel like a complete loser. And if they sell less cookies than their friends, then they're gonna get bullied for selling less cookies. And if they get bullied for selling less cookies, it will be all my fault because I couldn't spare just $5 for a box of Thin Mints. So I do the only logical thing to do in that situation. Get lost, kid. I don't want your overpriced cookies. Kidding. I usually just get suckered into buying like 3 boxes. Because the guilt trip in their sad little puppy eyes is crazy good. And I've done my fair share of door-to-door fundraising, so like, I understand how anxious you can get, especially as a little kid, so like, I get it. It's hard. But just because it's hard doesn't give you permission to be obnoxious and run down the street when someone's chasing after a child, Jared from Insert Window Company here. So instead of knocking on people's doors, how about we knock on that like button and the subscribe button and the bell icon, and none of this makes any sense because you click it, you don't knock on it, but you know what? You should subscribe anyway. Thanks for watching. Bye! Side note, what was up with my voice crack? Side note, that sounded angry. I understand the anxiety. What is anxiety? Let's just jump into the first